Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial. This is Agnes and today I'll be showing you how I made this skirt. It's easy to make. I used the half double crochets for the waist and then the double crochets for the middle part, and then at the bottom I used the cross stitch and think it makes it really beautiful. So it is measurement based, so you'll need to take your waist measurements and your hips measurements, then of course the length, how long you want it to be. So she wanted it short, but you can make it longer according to your preference. And also it is a bit of meshy on that top part, but because I used the 3.5 millimeter hook, so if you don't want it to be meshy, then you can use a smaller hook. Okay, so before we get into the video, I wanted you guys to help me out with something and choose my next project. So would you rather in my next tutorial I make this sweater, or should I make this top tutorial instead? So leave a comment below and let me know which one you prefer, and the one with the most comments is what I'll make for my next project. So give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, for this tutorial I use a 3.5 millimeter hook. You may use a smaller hook if you want tighter stitches. I'll use acrylic yarn, robin. It is thin yarn, but I will double the strand just to achieve the thickness of a medium weight yarn. I'll use scissors and I will use a tape measure for the measurements. So we are going to start with the waistband. Make a slip knot, and then we'll chain 16 chains. I already have one, so that is 2, 10, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So for the waistband we'll use half double crochets, so yarn over, and in the third chain from the hook insert a half double crochet. So yarn over again and going to the next chain and insert another half double crochet. So you're going to use half double crochets for this row till you get to the end. So I'm done with my half double crochets. We're going to row 2, so chain 2, turn your work, and we are going to work only in the back loop. So go into the back loop of the first stitch there and insert a half double crochet. Go into the next stitch, insert a half double crochet. That's only in the back loop stitches. Okay, so our waistband will be more stretchy and have that ribbed effect on it. So work that till the end, only in the back loop, and I'll see you when you're done. So we're at the end of our second row. Make sure you put a stitch in that very last stitch. Okay, so that's our last half double crochet, chain 2, turn your work and work the back loop like we're doing in the before. So that will be our pattern for all the rows in the waistband, and make enough rows so that when you stretch your work it is the same inches as your waist measurements. Mine will be 30 measurements. So I did 60 rows, a total of 60 rows of half double crochet, and when I stretched this, you see I have 15 inches times 2 because I folded this into 2, that is 30 inches, and that was my waist measurement. So I'm going to join this. Since I already have my measurements, I'm going to join this with single crochets. So make sure you put a single crochet in every stitch on both ends to join. Just like that, going to the front and the back and make a single crochet to join this waistband. So I'm done joining this, and now we have a waistband. So turn the inside out and we're going to work our skirt going downwards. So for this row we are going to use single crochet. So chain 1, and in that very first stitch insert a single crochet. So it will be 2 single crochets in every row. Okay, just like that. I like to put one in the row and then the other in the ridge. So it's 2 single crochets for every row. Okay, so you'll continue doing that until you get to the end of this row, and I'll see you then. So we will close this row off with a slip stitch, and the next row will work with double crochet. So chain 3, yarn over, and in that very first stitch insert a double crochet. Go into the next stitch, make another double crochet, into the next stitch a double crochet, and that will be our pattern for this first row. So this first row of double crochets. I'll see you once you're done with this row. So we are at the end of the row, and we are going to close this row off with a slip stitch in that chain 3, then chain 3, we're going to row 2, turn your work. We're going to be turning our work at the end of every row, and make a double crochet in that first stitch, and then we will work this row with double crochets just like in the previous row till the end. So we're coming to the end of row 2, so close that off with a slip stitch, and for row 3 we are going to start increasing. Okay, so chain 3, turn your work, and then you're going to determine the middle part of your, the sides of your skirt, the hip sides. So you may use a stitch marker. I'll just pull out the yarn, extend the yarn, and I will know that's the size when I get to it. Okay, so we are going to work double crochets till we get to where our stitch markers are, and that's when we'll make increases. So insert a double crochet in that very first stitch, and you'll use double crochets for this row. When we get to where the stitch marker is, we'll make an increase. So I'm coming to where I extended my yarn, that's my hip side. So before that exact stitch, I'll make my increase, that is by putting 2 double crochets in that very same stitch. Okay, 2 double crochets in the same stitch, then go into where the stitch marker is and just put 1 double crochet, and then I'll go into the next stitch and make an increase. So that is putting 2 double crochets in that very same stitch. Okay, so I have an increase, then the next stitch is non-increase, and then an increase, and then I'll continue to do my my double crochets till I get to the other side where I need to make an increase. I'll do the same. It's 2 increase. We are increasing 2 on every side, 2 on every. So we are coming to the end of row 3. You're going to close this off with a slip stitch, and we will go to row 4. So chain 3, turn your work. For this row, we'll not make any increases at all. So row 4, no increase on any of the sides. Row 3, we did increases on both sides, 2 increases on both sides. So that is going to be our pattern for this top part of the skirt. You are going to be increasing on one row, and then the next row, no increase. Increase on the one row, and then the next row, no increase. Okay, so we increased on row 3, row 4, no increase, row 5 will be an increase, row 6, no increase, row 7, increase, row 8, no increase, until you get your desired hips measurements. So keep stretching as you go on. Make sure it stretches to your hips measurements. So I did 20 rows, and that was 9 rows of increase, and this is 11 inches long from the top. Okay, so I acquired my hips measurements, that is 45. When I stretch, so you stretch as you go along. So when I stretch, that is 22.5, and so times 2, that is 45, my hips measurements that I was going for. Okay, so I did 9 rows of increase. I increased on row 3, row 5, row 7, row 9, row 11, row 13, 15, 17, and 19. Okay, so 9 rows of increase, but the total number of rows is 20 rows. Okay, so yeah, I hope you have your hips measurements already, and once you're done with that, then we will continue with non-increasing rows. Okay, so you really don't have to have the same number of increasing rows. It will depend on your measurements. You can do maybe 5 rows of increase, you can do 3 rows of increase, or you can even do 12 rows of increase, and depending on when you achieve your hips measurements, that's when you stretch your skirt. So keep stretching your skirt until you achieve your hips measurements, and then stop increasing. So non-increasing row is next. Chain 3 and make a double crochet in the very first stitch, and then a double crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to do double crochets, no increasing at all, till you get your desired length before we put the cross stitch. Okay, so you might want to put maybe the cross stitch at the very bottom, or you might want it to make it more, I don't know, it depends on what you desire. So do that, and I'll meet you once you're done with your rows. So I've added a few more rows. I went ahead and added 6 rows of non-increase, and now my skirt length is 14 inches. Okay, so 14 inches is what I was going for, and I'm now going to do the cross stitch. That is the bottom pattern that we have on the skirt. Okay, so you're going to work the right side. We're only going to work in one direction for this cross stitch. Okay, so you're going to chain 3, yarn over, skip that very first stitch, and then make a double crochet in the second stitch. Then you're going to yarn over, go backwards to a stitch you skipped, and make a double crochet in that stitch. So now you have a cross. Yarn over, skip the next stitch, and then go into the next stitch after that, make a double crochet, yarn over, go backwards, in the stitch you skipped and make a double crochet. So that is our second cross. So yarn over, skip one stitch, and then make a double crochet in the next stitch, yarn over, go backwards and make another double crochet. So that is how you make that cross stitch. One more time, skip one stitch and make a double crochet in the next, then go backwards and make a double crochet. Okay, so that is going to be our pattern for this row, and I'll see you once you're done with the row. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the row, and as you can see, I only got one stitch, but that shouldn't be a problem. So I'll just go under that chain 3, make my double crochet, and then go backwards in that very last stitch and make a double crochet to complete my cross, and then go on top of that chain 3 and make a slip stitch to close that row off. Then chain 3. So we're going to continue working in that same direction. There's no turning your work. And then on top of that cross, you will make another cross. Okay, that is by skipping the first stitch and going to the second. Okay, then yarn over, skip the next stitch and go into the other stitch and make a double crochet, and then go backwards with a double crochet to complete the cross. So it is the same pattern. It is a cross on top of another cross. Okay, so it is going to be this pattern for this row and the next few rows, depending on how long you want your skirt to be. So the number of rows will now depend on what you desire your length to be. Okay, so continue doing that and we'll meet when you are done with your rows. So I went ahead and added a total of 10 rows of the cross stitch, and my skirt is now at 18 inches from the top. Okay, so you can make it longer, you can make it shorter, depending on what you like. Okay, so it's 10 rows of the cross stitch. So I'm now going to make the border row, and this is going to be double crochets basically. So you're going to chain 3, and you will insert double crochet in that very first stitch, a double crochet in the next stitch, and we will be working double crochets all around for this row. So it's a double crochet in every stitch till you get to the end of the row. Okay, do that and we'll meet. So I'm done with my row of double crochet and went ahead and chained a long chain, about 250 chains, and this is what is going to go through the front of our skirt. So I turned my skirt inside out. So if you have a yarn needle, you will use it to sew in this chain. That will be best, but I don't have one at this point where I am, so I'm just going to use my hook to sew in this chain. So you'll start from the top and it will go on both sides, more like, you know, one string on one side and the other string on this opposite side, and then when you get to the bottom, that's where you pull it and tie it. So if you have a yarn needle, it will be best. So sew in your chain. I'm passing it through every row. So do that for that side until you get to the bottom, and then you'll do the same for this other left side. Okay, so once you get to the bottom, we'll make. So I'm done, and you're going to pull the two strings at the bottom just to do that fold design going on right there, and you can adjust the folds according to your preference. By just using that chain, you can pull it a little bit more if you want them to be so folded or less folded. So that is how it looks like on someone. It was meant for my friend, and she really liked it. So if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.